Hey there, church. We are heading into the second week of Advent, and like some of you, I am still waiting for power. It's Thursday morning. Our power went off on Tuesday morning, and so welcome to Advent. It's the season of waiting for restoration. It's just the perfect metaphor, isn't it? Advent promises that Jesus is returning to this world that is struggling, and Jesus at his return will accomplish the full restoration of all things. Behold, he says in Revelation, I make all things new. So we're still waiting for that, and as the church, we practice waiting. We make it a discipline. It's been hard to live in a house that feels lifeless, that feels kind of dead, that has no energy. And that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about this Sunday. God makes a promise through the prophet Joel that I am going to pour out my spirit on all flesh. And that spirit, the Holy Spirit, is God's energy, God's presence, God's very life coming into us for our newness, our true aliveness that goes beyond just our breathing lungs and our beating heart, because it is an eternal aliveness that can't be lost. So the power will never go out for the Holy Spirit. So a question that we're asking this Advent, when things are so different, is how are we going to receive the Spirit? How are we going to participate in the Spirit's energy? We're listing a couple of ways with this EUpdate for how we might do that in digital media. One way is to download the sign that says Merry Christmas and to use it to take a picture of yourself or your household, send it back in, and we're going to use it for the Christmas service that we are working on as I speak. That will be part of our household celebration of Christmas. We're putting together a candlelight kit that will help us to have our own light-filled, intimate Christmas celebration in our own homes. It'll have suggestions for how you might join the service to some meals or maybe some present opening, how you can make this sacred even when there's much about this Christmas that just kind of feels messed up. Not having a Christmas Eve service in the building is going to be hard, but the Holy Spirit can reach us in our homes, so let's be open to that. Families, you're invited to check out the digital Christmas pageant instructions below that Elizabeth Gooden is leading. I encourage you to take this up. Help your families to tell the Christmas story in your own words. Take video, send it in. We're going to put all of that together into a digital Christmas pageant that will be featured on our Facebook page and also be put into the worship service on December 20th. We're going to Christmas carol and do this in safe ways, driving just in our own households. This will happen a week from Sunday on December 13th. Our carolers will meet at the church at 3:30. Start by singing through the phone to some of our folks that aren't able to make it in to things or that we aren't able to make it into because of restrictions in their living situation, like folks in nursing homes. And then we'll go to some of our members that have been more isolated lately or have just had a tough time, an especially tough time this year. Also on the 13th, starting at 3:30 to 4:30, and then also on the 20th, again from 3:30 to 4:30, we're going to be giving out the Christmas Eve candlelight kits that will have some goodies in them to help your households celebrate that. It'll have some candles. It'll have some suggestions and instructions for how to use the digital service. I invite you and encourage you, if you're able to get out, just to swing through the church from 3:30 to 4:30 on the 13th. And on the 20th to pick up your candlelight kit. If you come by at 3:30 on the 13th, you'll get to hear the Christmas carolers kick off with their distanced Christmas caroling, and maybe if you wanted a mask on and everything, you could take part in some caroling yourself. With this EUpdate, I'm listing a couple of ways that we can especially practice presence. One of the wonderful phrases from the Rule of Benedict is, the divine presence is everywhere. God is the one who is always present. We're the ones who are sometimes absent. So presence is something that we get to practice, and when we realize that we have fallen out of a sense that we're living in the presence of God, there's some things that we can do to return us back to that sense of presence and open ourselves again to God's present energy and life and the power of the Spirit. So I encourage you to take up the practices of breath prayer, the practice of Christian meditation, which for me has been nothing less than transformative for my own life with God, and just what it means to live through the ups and downs of life, kind of like when you don't have power for a couple of days. How does meditation help you to stay open to God and to detach from a sense that life's troubles are really there and driving the show? So, we continue to live loving God, sharing relationships, serving others from the heart of Christ. One way that we can especially remember to do that is to support the deacons, to give to the deacons. A lot of you know that Christmas Eve has traditionally been the major time we've given to the deacons to support their ministries of service and compassion with our community all through the year. Since we're not having a Christmas Eve service, we're going to find alternative ways to do that. You can send in a check to CPC, make it out to CPC, and note deacons on the memo line. You can also give electronically, and in the electronic giving page where there's a spot to write a note, just put in the note, deacons offering, and that money will get to support the deacons. So we're waiting. And God's energy that can't be cut off by any power company because it comes from the divine presence everywhere is not just waiting with us, but supporting us, encouraging us, helping us to turn back to the God who is full of joy and light and peace, who bears our struggles, who suffers with us as we see so evidently in the suffering presence of Jesus in the world. A God who is always going to receive us as we are and be born into us moment by moment. This is the promise of Advent leading to Christmas. However things are this season, let's hold on to it and live it to the full. Peace to you all.